What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Fight for Your Right Fishing. I'm Fish USA Pro Staff John Dietz. Today we're up in Erie, PA, well, Fairview, I guess, at Fish USA headquarters. And what I'm going to talk about today is fly fishing for steelhead.
Right here. Right here.
Oh God! Find him!
This is Fight for Your Right Fishing.
Fly fishing for steelhead is a huge part of our culture and our history up here. It is favored by many anglers. You get a different fight, you get a different presentation, and it's all around different. So I'm going to start by breaking down the rod. It's a pretty critical piece of gear. Everybody's always concerned about it. I run a different rod than most folks. I run a Cortland 10.5 foot 3 or 4 weight. Not one, like, depending on bigger water, I run the 4. Like smaller creeks, I run the 3 weight. What does that do? It's a big difference from a lot of folks. Most folks run, a 5/6 weight, a 7/8 weight, and it depends on the creeks that you're fishing. Up here in Erie, Elk Creek, Walnut Creek, I'm not going to go above a 4 weight. I don't need to. I'm not fishing big water. Those fish aren't going to do anything super crazy, and it just gives me a different feel for everything. So what it does is it cushions my hooks, have a ton of parabolic bend. Think of it like a noodle rod. Everybody's okay using a noodle rod, but they want to use a 7 weight fly rod. We're not out here salmon fishing, we're out here catching steelhead. It's a totally different ballgame. Smaller water. So that 4 weight cushions my flies, cushions my line, and it cushions the fish. So I'm going to break off less fish, I can use lighter line, I'm not going to pull hooks out of their mouth, and that parabolic bend allows me to put as much pressure on them as physically possible, which means I can turn them a lot faster, a lot easier, and fight them a lot more efficiently with that limber rod. So this is a Cortland nymphing rod. I'll have it linked down below with every other product that I talk about, other than a lot of the flies that I list. But the reels that I like to run are, this is an Okuma, I can't even remember what it is. I wore it off. That's how long I've been using this reel, is I wore the name of it off. I'll have it linked below though. I have it listed somewhere. And then I run an Okuma Helios. And the main reason that I run these is I can do that. They have a great drag system. I've been using both of these reels for 7, 8 years, maybe more. And I've fished for steelhead, for trout, everything with them. So if I need to pick up a lot of line though, I can burn it, and they also have an amazing drag system in there that hasn't gone out on me yet, and I've caught a lot of fish with it. So, big part of this is the fly line. Everybody freaks out about the fly line, and most people do it wrong. Fly line was traditionally invented to carry the weight of the fly for guys dry fly fishing, wet fly fishing, using flies that don't have any weight. So they use those big heavy fly lines to cast the weight of the fly. Up here, we're really not doing that. We're fishing close, we're fishing a lot of weight, So the line that I like to run is a Cortland level line. We have it listed on the website. It is super fantastic. What it is it is exactly as it sounds, a level line. It's 22 thousandths all the way around. What that does is that allows me to fish further away from myself. I also fish a longer leader with that, because I don't want that drag of my fly line. I've seen it. You guys have been there. If you fish those heavy fly lines, it drapes down, your line hits the water, it gets caught, it gets in like 4 different currents, it's getting pulled all over the place. It's just a mess. Not worth it. Go to that level line. Save you so much hassle, put so many more fish in the net. So the leader material that I like to run, I don't use traditional taper leaders. I taper my own leader. I can get more of them, I can make them better, and I can make them how I want them. Because a taper leader is good for dry fly fishing because it rolls flies over. That's what it's made for. You taper it from your fly line, which will carry that energy to your fly, so it rolls over really nice and you get pretty, like, all the in the loop and, Brad Pitt casting a fly line. I start with the thickness of the fly line. So I'm going to start with 20-pound chameleon. It's Maxima chameleon. It's my favorite line. It's not a lot of stretch, not a lot of memory. So it's pretty all around good for what I like to do. Then I'm going to taper that down to 15 pound, and from there, so I should probably back up. I'm going to have like 15 feet of 20 pound, then I'm going to have about 5 feet of 15 pound, then I'm going to have about 3 feet of this Sunline, or what is this, Suffix, high vis 14 pound. 3 feet of that, then 2 feet of 12 pound in the same Suffix high vis. What this is a Euro-nymphic setup. That allows me to use this line as an indicator. Why I prefer that over a traditional float is I can now change my depth during the cast. I can cast it out, hold it up, I don't like it there. Give it more line. Give it less line. Twitch it. Do whatever. I don't have that float causing me any problems. If it's in a spot that I don't want it to be, I can just shift it over with getting away with that perfectly because it cuts through the water. So that's my basic leader setup. I then taper from my sighter to 10 pound. I like that salmon steelhead line. You can also use basically any kind of tippet that you really like. Tippet material always comes really good, but I like these because I get more of it. And then what I go from there is, this is a big part of it, is a tippet ring. A tippet ring allows me to go from a heavy connection to a thin connection without any hassle, no burning, no friction. I can just tie a clinch knot, an improved clinch knot onto that tippet ring, and I'll be good to go. And then I can add as much tippet as I want to it. So that is my basic setup, and that is a huge critical part of how I catch fish, and I see a lot of guys doing it wrong. So please take that into consideration when you're looking at gear, looking at new rods, new lines. I know Christmas is coming up. Be sure to get some of these products for your loved ones at steelhead and salmon fish. It's really, really important part of it. Next, I want to talk about some of the flies. I'm going to run basically 3 kinds of flies. I'm going to have minnow patterns, I'm going to have egg patterns, and I'm going to have stonefly patterns. Up here in Erie, PA, a lot of these free stone streams have a lot of stoneflies, black stoneflies to be, up front with it. I run them in a size 16 to a size 10. Black stoneflies. Then I run eggs. I run those from like size 0s to size like 20s, depending on the conditions. It's always about the conditions. Lower, clearer water, I'm going to go smaller or really, really big, if there's a bunch of them. And then dirtier water, I'm going to go bigger and more solid. So it always starts out transparent and low clear water and goes bigger and just bolder as the water gets dirty, because they got to see it to eat it. They're sight feeders. So minnow patterns, I run a lot of jigs. Probably got one fall out. This is one of my favorites. This is an emerald shiner jig I tie. This is midge flash. What that is, that's on an 1/8 ounce head right there, but I like a 64th or a 16th primarily. I like to get above the fish and work it in their face. That is a great way to trigger a lot of aggressive strikes. A lot of times you get the bigger, more aggressive males in the group, or you can catch a lot of numbers because it's something they don't see. But I'm not about to get into how to fish it. That's a whole other video. I just posted another video you can see somewhere up here at the end of me fishing a smaller stream up here where we hammered them on those jigs where I can show you how to fish it. I like my shiny, really bold colors. I like whites and I like blacks. I don't really go anywhere in between. Those are great colors that'll get you a lot of bites. Other than that, I run eggs. Your oranges, your pinks, your chartreuses, and then you can mix it up if you want. I have big egg sac patterns to small single egg patterns. That's where it goes from there. I'm not going to deviate a whole lot from that. And then stone flies, you can pick those up on our website. I'll have those linked below. Those are pretty standard. Those are the flies. I don't get too concerned about the flies. How often do you see everybody catching fish on different things? Always. They're fish. They're opportunistic. Think of yourself living on a treadmill. You're going to have to eat all the time. These steelhead have to eat all the time to maintain their body weight, because they're not like salmon. They don't die when they run up. They come up, they leave, they come up again later, next year, and then they'll keep doing it until somebody catches them and kills them or they die. It's just how it goes. So don't get hung up on the flies as much. Get hung up on the presentation and how you're presenting it. One thing I do want to talk about is how to connect 2 flies. One thing you can do, and this is pretty simple, you can do it 2 ways. You can tie it from the bend of a hook, so your favorite knot, like a clinch knot, tie it to your first fly, take a piece of line. I probably run foot, maybe 10 inches, and you tie that to the bend of your other hook that you just tied on, and then you tie that to the eye of your other hook, so you have 2 flies right in line. Or you can tie 2 lines together. I have a knot tying video also. I'll have that somewhere on my channel. You guys can go find that one too if you get really curious about knot tying. The knot tie will give it a tag end, which will give the fly more movement, as opposed to just tying 2 together. 2 together, they'll be pulling on each other more, whereas if you have one on a tag end, like how you tie two lines together, there's a tag that comes off, tie it onto one of those. It'll give it a little bit more movement, make it look more natural. But that is basically my fly fishing setup for over here. I don't deviate a whole lot. That rod I've been using for 5 or 6 years. We helped design that with Cortland. I've been using that since the blanks came out. I've broken all kinds of those rods to get them to the point where they are now. I put those through the ringer. If you watch my latest video of me fishing that smaller stream, you see the kind of pressure I put on those fish. It's not going to break. I love Cortland. I love their products for the sole fact that they listened to us when we designed it. So keep that in mind. I hope these tips helped you guys out there on the water. Again, I stand by everything that I just said as far as gear and setups go. Don't get hung up on the flies. Get hung up on your gear and how you're presenting the flies. Flies are interchangeable. Gear is where the important part lies, the gear and the fundamentals. So keep that in mind when you guys are out there on the water. I hope you learned a lot from this video. If you liked it, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to see more. God bless, and I hope to see you guys out there on the water.